works inside of you to make it work for you. Now, believe it or not, social media skill set, because it is a skill set, and all of the skills that it takes to be good at social media are the skills that you have to either work on or already possess as a hairdresser. Let me convince you, if you're not already convinced, that you have what it takes to grow your social media and be really good at it. Crushing it with hair, connecting with people, growing our business, and social media is so much the same. You are already forced to be, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or however you operate and your comfort level is with people. And so you're kind of in this position of, whether you like it or not, a little bit of a sales position. And I feel like social media is so much the same. And all the pressure we put on ourselves with social media and comparing and all of that, it's very blurry. And it's been that way for years. But now, even more as we enter into this new, realm of technology and AI and all of the things, it's gonna become even blurrier. So it's people. So teaching is a huge part of our jobs and a huge part of social media, as well as just being inspired. If you compare yourself to people, there's always gonna be somebody with 2 billion followers and, tons of plastic surgery, right? You have to kind of ride that wave of creativity when it hits. And we'll talk about that in best practices later. So this time I'm gonna use 3 because we're gonna take it up that tiny bit more. So you recalibrate, right? Every time your client comes in, you look at what worked, what didn't work, you tweak it, you're trying to make them happy. You're trying to do better than you did before. Can be the same and can translate into that digital space. And you can do it in such a way that doesn't have to be so techy. You can mold that space to be something that really feels natural to you, that feels authentic to you, and because it is your business, right? To make something really, really good, it's like, if stripped down is your style, go for it. If cameras and lenses and lighting and all of that really inspires you, go for it, But if you just find that natural light and get that perfect shot, and that's something that kind of lights your soul on fire, learn more about it. Jump in where you feel the most inspired, and then go back and start to learn kind of the nitty gritty so you can keep yourself inspired, right? Moments where I need a solid break. And when you're in the service industry, you gotta take self-time, you got to take vacations, you got to realize that you are serving others when you're stepping into that social media realm, and you are being intentional about it, guys. So showing up and be engaging. It's not just consuming. If you're actually engaging and you're really, really intentional about showing up and creating in that space, even if it's just a couple stories, and whatever capacity you have for that day, showing up is one of the most important things. So if you want to be a part of it, if you want to grow in it, you gotta break the ice, show up, jump on the dance floor, and dance. You can't just be consuming and expect that relationship to grow. You have to be putting something into it, investing, and just kind of deepening those relationships and making genuine connections with people. So I don't get to connect and see every single person represented online, right? Anyways, all that to say is that it's really important for you guys to show up for your community that you don't even know the type of impact that you're making to everybody. Or maybe you're just a really sarcastic person, or maybe you have a huge sense of humor or a big personality, or maybe you're the quiet artist type and you're kind of more comfortable in a specific type of environment. You can, I'll tell you what I can do better. But yeah, I just feel when it comes to the industry, sometimes you're watching people grow in front of a huge audience, and then you see their hair skills get better, and then you're like, wait a minute, I'm such a jerk. I shouldn't ever think oh, well, just because they have a large following and maybe the hair hasn't cut up to the following, or maybe they have a small following and they do amazing hair. We're all here to grow together, learn together, and as an educator, I'm a firm believer in lift everybody up, and let's grow the industry together. Very easy to get overwhelmed with just the actual, like, doing it. What am I gonna say? What's the content look like? I don't wanna have to think about my phone, but I want it to be there when I need it there to get the shot, right? All of those things come with, like, after you've been creating a lot of content, you just start building on top of what you've done previously. So maybe it is the big transformation, but then you have to show, like, the before and after image immediately, or like at the end or something, and make it punchy and make it obvious that that is the point of your post. Far too often I just see, like, whatever, you know, and it doesn't have, like, really a point, and it falls flat, or it's almost too much information. So know when you're about to make a post that you have one point to make, and you want to do it as kind of quick as possible, or at least as concise as possible. So if you worry too much about a brand and, like, making it you and having a color scheme, which is all great, the more, like, authentic and honest you are, and the more you just like the work, I think you just automatically create a brand. You want to kind of shoot to just inspire yourself, because then in turn you're going to end up, like, inspiring other people just automatically. Like, this is, like, some of my best work, and it's going to be crickets on social media because the general public might not care about a perfect ponytail. But sometimes it's, like, the things that are the hardest for you, or even, like, a perfect bowl cut that you learned in a class, but you were, like, really, like, growing your skill set. And if you're talking to clients, you're like, this is how it's going to translate for you in the salon, and maybe that's the point. Just that one more tweak, just step into the light a little more, like, here, no, oh, there, it's bright and beautiful, or whatever, you know, and just move them around and move yourself around. Then when you're editing, get picky about it. When you're watching other people's content, not, like, pick it apart, but kind of, like, what do you like about it? I feel like being picky with even doing hair behind the chair is, like, the best thing that you could be, because a lot of times when clients say, oh, you're pickier than I am, stuff that doesn't really inspire you, you're gonna burn out way faster. When something works, drive it home. So say, gosh, I can think of so many people that were like, oh, like, all of a sudden they specialized in this, or they did this look or whatever, and it just took off. And once you ride that wave, you ride it all the way out. This type of reels, it's a quick reels. It shows the before or the after image in the beginning of the video, or whatever that idea is, or whatever that formula was that worked. Do it over and over. And then if it doesn't work again, tweak it a little bit and try it a different way, but definitely don't give up on it. Or if it's a look. But when it comes to actually posting, just make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself with being on brand, that you don't do the post at all. How can I invest less time doing social media and more time doing the things that actually work? You want to be able to pay attention to the numbers, but don't attach yourself too deeply to them, because we can really, like, it can affect me. So a lot of times I'll do, like, 3 for you, 1 for me, 3 for you, 1 for me, because I have to do something that I'm like, well, I love this, you know? Regardless of if it's crickets, I'm gonna post it. So yes, the numbers matter, but within reason. Definitely put on the 2 point. So testing your content and then pivoting until something hits. We've talked about this a little bit. But testing is one of the most important things that you could do, is trying something new, trying something different. You shouldn't feel guilty about that if it is something that's going to actually kind of, like, and then that's the type of thing that I'll boost, but not something that I just, like, oh, like, I want this to have more likes, or, you know what I mean? It's usually a business decision, and it's like, all right, this is why this particular thing gets, like, marketed out. What could I improve on? And pull and utilize your audience to educate you, because they know the best. I pretty much have, like, a lot of the curriculum lined out for Renegade Royals in 2024 of what I'm going to teach based on what you guys want to see and what you've actually shared with me in the past. I love to be in the moment. So, like, we just did a big move and I took a bunch of video, but I haven't posted anything about it. And we're here now and we're, like, living in the place. And then I'll be like, hey, this is, you know, boom, boom, boom. And I'll post everything to my stories maybe later that I want to share. And so you can mold this whichever way you want. And then you can kind of curate more around, like, the times you want to post, and you're able to post more consistently, because if you're, like doing it in the moment, sometimes it's not appropriate.
It's nothing personal, but let me share with you my new favorite way to edit. I've gone from lots of different editing apps, InShot, CapCut, actually editing in the app, Instagram or TikTok, which is totally fine, and you can do that. Also, something that I'm finding really beneficial is as I'm editing through, I can do my audio simultaneously and cut my audio according to the exact video clips. And then let's drag this over to her beautiful after shot. Before and boom, after. This is what it looks like. And boom. Now what I mean by doing the audio simultaneously to the cuts is I'll cut this part. I know that this is all dialed in nice and tight, and this is right where I want those two cuts to be. We took Audrina from this beautiful blonde to this stunning golden hour brunette. So we're gonna start our voiceover, and then I say, now time for the color selection. And I'm using Color Touch, a demi-permanent line, and Shinefinity to refresh her ends, because we don't need to go in with permanent color. I'm using Color Touch, a demi-permanent line, and Shinefinity to refresh her ends, because we don't need to go in. So I'm gonna take out a demi-permanent line. In Color Touch, I'm using Color Touch, and then you can see how as you're editing your audio, look at that. But I really wanted to show you how to edit your audio to match up with these cuts, so I know right where to cut it. And this is where it almost sounds like awkward, because you're like, Shinefinity. And then I could say like, select your specific shades, and I want the color to kind of already be coming out of the tube. One more voiceover, and we'll see what we got, and I'll show you captions to add. I actually took a class recently about TikTok, and people were like, you know, don't do so much of the big, loud, crazy captions that are colorful and crazy. So you can see that if this audio was longer, I would be able to, you know, just make this a little bit more like, wow, related. I don't, like I said, TikTok is almost like a weakness of mine. So, and I feel like weakness as in I'm just not doing it as much as I should be. Whereas Instagram, I'm like an instant, like on it and doing things all the time. Video. A few things to note are these handy dandy little, so I have this, I don't know, call me millennial, call it chuggy, what have you, but this little thing helps me in the salon significantly because I can throw it over my shoulder. So yeah, half the time the problem is that you just don't have your phone with you, and your like hands are in gloves, and you're like, what do I do? And you need to be able to have your phone ready at all times to be able to just pick it up and start shooting, because you're like, wait, this would be a great moment, and then you don't do it because it's a hassle. You're this and that, but also a lot of it has to do with like the algorithm. Like for whatever reason it loved this one, but this one was like the final look and it got half the amount. But as well as this was a repost from an old post that I did that didn't perform this well the first time around, and then all of a sudden look at how well it performed. I was going vintage shopping with my family, and I was like, I need to talk about razor cuts really quick for a second. So as I was walking around,
there's one thing we need to talk about, and it's a bit of a hot topic.
Here I've been experimenting with green screen because, like I said, I need to get better at TikTok, and then clipping all that together, putting a green screen, which is in TikTok. You can figure out how to do that through the app, through the TikTok app, and then download it, and here you have it.
Now let's...
And I just go through the whole video and breaking down kind of my own haircuts on my own page.
I try to get those shots, get the good looks. I try to remember all of my best practices and just be really intentional about servicing the people who are in front of me, right? So learning about all of the changes and growing with it is always going to be valuable and beneficial to you. So all that to say, I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that you realize that you as a hairstylist already have what it takes to be good at social media. Take a million classes, learn all of the like nitty-gritty details, but at the end of the day, just do it. Get social, have fun doing the media aspect, apply some of those best practices, and don't stop, right? And allow yourself to just experience freedom within that world, and don't let it feel like it's constricting around you, like, oh, I have to do this, or oh, it's such a chore, or feeling like weighed down by it at all. I choose freedom, and I'm gonna keep going and not take it personally and have fun.